And welcome back to Let's Play Blightfall. So, we've been kind of working on some things lately. We did our scouting mission, we got some more resources, we've built up a pretty safe and somewhat diverse base here. But the whole point of this mod pack, of the Thaumcraft mod in general, is to use Thaumcraft to cure the Blight. Let me rephrase. That's the point of this mod pack. It's not the only point of Thaumcraft, but it's a point of Thaumcraft. So in order to proceed with that general idea, we're going to have to get into Thaumcraft today. Now, I've been storing up some of the sugarcane that we got recently from the swamp. And by the way, I added a little bit more dirt around the base so that it can grow into grass and get over to where my livestock is, because I feel like they're going to want that, especially if I get sheep. But with this sugar, we're going to make some paper. Actually, I'm going to make a little bit of sugar first, and then we're going to make enough paper to create several books, 6 books in fact. And I had been harvesting leather last time, but we had to breed the cows up, so I went ahead and bred the cows up a little bit more. And now we have 6 leather as well to go along with the 18 paper, 6 books total. Great. And this is exactly the right amount to get going with Thaumcraft in this mod pack. Now, we need to create a Thaumonomicon. Now, I thought we could just do it this way, but I forgot that we need to make a bookshelf, which is no problem because I've got wood in my inventory. So we'll just create enough wood to create 2 bookshelves here. And we'll take our 6 books, and that's exactly enough for 2 bookshelves as well. And we'll place it down on the ground here. I guess I'll just place them like that. Grab your wand and right-click. And magically, just like that, you get your Thaumonomicon. Thaumonomicon will be useful here, but I just wanted to take a look at our wand. Now, as you can see, there's these numbers down there. Those numbers represent V. And that's why I created the wand in the first place, because I wanted to get energy flowing into the wand. We'll explain more about that later. But I did want to turn in a couple quests real quick, so I skipped ahead. So I went ahead and turned in a little bit of bread there. I don't have enough to solve the quest yet, but I turned in a decent amount. I also cooked up some pumpkin seeds to keep my hunger at bay for now. Pumpkin seeds are just, you get them from pumpkins and then you can cook them. Cooked up some eggplant, and we'll go ahead and throw that in our lunchbox here by shift right-clicking to close the lid and then right-clicking to open it to put stuff in it. A little bit complicated, I know, but it's better than manually trying to figure out which food is best for you at all times. My chicken hopper system here could probably be improved to make it more efficient, but it's fine for purposes of storing just a few eggs here and there, which is all we're really going to need it for at this point, so I'm not really inclined to improve it that much. Now, I did move a couple of ethereal blooms over here. We did get, I think, a couple from the swamp. So we cleared out an area. Now, what I'd like to do with this area that we cleared out is go ahead and plant an apple tree, because I'd like to start harvesting apples. A couple other trees that we're really going to want soon are olive trees and pepper trees as well. Now, another thing I need to do is create a glass tank, because we're going to need a lot more lava in the near future. So basically, all we did to create that was to put 1 copper surrounded by 4 glass, and then we're going to go ahead and fill it with milk. This thing holds 8 buckets full of liquid, and basically this is a much more efficient way than what I've seen on some other Let's Plays, where you can get a bucket full of milk, put it in the same crafting grid as a bottle, and you will fill the bottle with milk. That takes forever. It's a lot more efficient to place your milk in one big batch using the bucket into the tank, and then quickly just spam the tank with bottles. That's a lot more efficient overall. Now, the milk gives us access to a lot of ingredients that we didn't have before. So, think about baking, for example. We had flour and water and salt. And we got sugar last time with the sugar cane. We added eggs from the chicken and milk. And those are basically the main baking ingredients that even in real life you would think about if you're going to bake something. So, those are our ingredients, and we've expanded our food library quite extensively. But milk is also useful for Thaumcraft, and we will get into that in just a minute. Now, Thaumcraft requires some research to learn how to make certain things, and there's these different tabs in the Thaumonomicon you can click on and check for different types of research. One thing that we definitely want to do right away is do research expertise and research mastery. If you find those in the Thaumcraft, they will save you on resources and they will speed up your research quite substantially. But before we can do any of that, I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse. We need to create a arcane workbench. In order to create a arcane workbench, and we also need to create a research table, we need a couple things. And we also need a thermometer, which is pretty easy to create, but we have to get the arcane workbench first and the research table first, I think. So we're going to go ahead and create these scribing tools, which are necessary for the research table, and and you can read all about it in the book here, but we're not going to get into some of the details. So let's go ahead and create some scribing tools. This is basically your second step, if you will, in Thaumcraft. Your first step is to create a Thaumcraft. Actually, your first step is to create a wand, then to create a Thaumcraft. So I guess it would be a third step would be to create a arcane workbench and a research table, which I consider to be essentially the same step in this process. So create some slabs. And then in order to create the table, you're going to need to put the slabs across the top and put the legs of the table, which are planks, like so. And that gives you 3 Thaumcraft tables. Now, you can use these as decorative tables, too. They're pretty basic, but they're kind of cool. A good texture, a good dark wood texture. And a couple options where to place this, but I think I'm going to go over here because it's going to be out of the way of the animals and the food stuff. So I'm going to place them adjacent to one another. Now, I'm going to run back over to my miscellaneous items chest. And we're going to grab a feather, ink. I thought I had some ink in here. Where is the ink? It's not up there. I could have sworn I had some ink. Where? Oh, there it is. Okay, I've got the ink there. And then I need a bottle or vial. Now, I've got some glass that I cooked up earlier. We're just going to grab a little clay. This is actually a much more efficient way to create glass containers, is to use the bottle recipe, but put clay in there instead. You get 8 instead of 3, which is great. And we're going to need those vials anyway for alchemy later, so but they can be used to create scribing tools. So we're going to go ahead and create 3 of those guys. And, I'd recommend creating 3 or 4 of those when you're following along at home. We're definitely going to use all of them. We're going to use ink to refill them later. Okay, so we're going to go over to our research table, or to our tables that we placed down. And we're going to go ahead and right-click to create a research table out of 2 of them. Now, the research table we'll explain in a minute. And we've got 2 leftover scribing tools. Now, I right-clicked on the remaining table with my wand to create the arcane workbench, and now we have a place where we can put a wand, and actually the creation of it took the wand and put it in this little slot here. And you can see that the numbers there, the V numbers, are sort of the wand's magical power based on primal elements. And we'll get into elements in just a minute, but what we want to do now is create a thermometer, because we're not going to be able to understand a lot until we create a thermometer. In order to create a thermometer, we need to grab 2 of these shards, and we happen to have more entropy shards than any other, so I'm just going to grab those. It doesn't matter which type you use. I'd recommend going with the one that you have the most of in the game. And then we need at least 2 gold ingots and a piece of glass. So I got those ingredients, and we're going to throw the gold ingots like this and the shards like this. And that's our thermometer. So the thermometer, you look through this lens. It can be a little annoying or off-putting at first, but it's really cool. And the whole point of the thermometer, you can see a lot of magical things in the world, but you can also learn about the world. And what I just did there was I held right-click down, and I got these 2 symbols to appear. These 2 symbols happen to be Terra and Perditio. Terra is represented by the mountains. Perditio is like the black lightning bolt. Terra is the element that corresponds to Earth. In fact, it's Latin for Earth, terra firma craft, etc. Perditio means chaos or entropy or breaking down of things. It conveys the idea that things break down and fall apart. Chaos, if you will. So you can just go up to anything in this world and scan it. But the problem is you may not have enough knowledge about what you're scanning to understand it. So kind of start with the basic stuff. I started with stone, and there I just got some from water. And the water is called aqua in this. So we've got terra, aqua, and perdicio. Just to kind of give you an idea, there are 6 primal elements. They correspond to the shards that we have. We have 6 shards. And they are the 4 classical Greek, if you will, elements: earth, air, fire, water, plus order and chaos, which is, I think, a really cool touch. And it adds kind of an ability to understand how to develop different elements from one another. So there are 2 ways to gain knowledge about the elements in the world. You can either scan things like we were just doing and get lucky and discover certain things, or we can go to the research table and figure out about stuff that way. So I'm going to come over here to the research table. Now you'll see we get a smattering of primal elements to begin with, but we can actually combine those into things in our research table to create more complex elements. So I'd recommend just experimenting at first. You can look it up online too. But it actually follows this sort of intuitive concept. Like if you mix certain things together, you'd get exactly what you'd think. So I'm mixing order and chaos, and I get this permutatio, which is exchange or change. I mix fire and order, and I get potentia, which is energy, which makes complete sense. If you bring order to fire, you're going to have energy. If I bring chaos to fire or cause fire to break down, I get coldness, which is gelum, which is basically like ice. What if you did aqua and air? Well, if you do that in the real world, you get weather systems, and in this you get tempesta, weather, or tempestas. Again, Latin for weather. So that's just an example, and you can create different ones with combinations of complex elements. So if I were to use, I don't know, I'd have to think about it, but okay, well now we've got Victus. Victus is life. That's from adding water to the earth. You know, water is a necessary condition of life on earth, so it kind of makes sense. So now that we have a little bit more of a library of things that we understand, we can go scan additional things now, and we should be able to have better understanding. I thought I was going to be able to understand that cactus. Apparently I can't yet. Maybe how about the door? Can I understand this door? No, I cannot. How about this glass? Okay, not the glass yet. How about this oak tree? How about the okay, the leaves I discovered herba. Herba is victus, life, plus terra. So if you put life on earth, you get plants, herba. And then I just discovered arbor, which is herba plus terra. So if you put plants on earth, not just life, but plants specifically, you're going to end up with more complex plants, arbor, which is trees. I'm scanning a bunch of stuff now, just kind of experimentally, to see if I can learn anything about the objects around me. Since I've discovered life, victus, and herba, plants, I can study a lot more of these plants that I have a lot of sitting around here. Sugarcane had 3 elements in it: air, water, and earth, which was cool, or herba, I think. Lilac has air and herba, which I don't quite understand. I guess it's because it's fragrant, so you kind of, it's a plant that has an effect on the air. I can't understand pumpkins yet for some reason. But, how about this torch? How about, can I understand that? Yes, I can. I get lux. Lux is a combination of fire and air, which makes sense again. How about these jungle drawers? Okay, I got this arbor, which is from the wood, but I get this other one, vacuous, which is vacuum or emptiness, which means that there's like a storage space. If I scan anything that is designed to store something or has an opening, you're going to find some vacuous, just like that chest. Now, this is an important one. Scanning milk gives us 3 new ones. Fames, which is the face, Sana, which is the heart potion, and Vitreous, I think, is the last one. That's a crystal. Fames, I believe, is Perdicio and Terra. I could be wrong. Means famine or starvation, hunger. Sano is order plus Victus, life, which is healing. And Vitreous is crystal, and it's order plus earth, which makes sense. You get crystals. Crystals are an ordered form of earth elements like sodium or whatever. So with those additions, I can scan even more and understand even more. The milk was really helpful. And I could do this all day long, folks, and frankly, you should do a lot of this to gain research points from the things you scan. There I got a new one, Metallum, because it had iron in that bucket, plus the vacuous that I already knew. How about the fish? Can I scan the fish? Not yet. I'm having a trouble scanning animal life, but we'll get to there eventually. How about the mushrooms? Yes, I got this new one. What is it? Tenebrae, darkness, which is Perdicio plus light, I think. On the research bench, that's how you would discover it. How about gold? Can't understand gold yet. I thought maybe because I had metal and I would understand gold, but I can't. Okay, silverwood log. This one's cool. I got this new one, Precantatio, which is magic, which is a combination of potentia and air. And then that one I got Precantatio and Infernus. Infernus is something that I don't even remember what that is. It's not used very often, but cannot understand the chickens, cannot understand the cows yet. You know, some of these crops have herba. That one particular had permutatio, which is change. How about the dirt? Terra. How about ethereal bloom? Yes, that one has a lot of stuff, including that vitium, which is taint, that we haven't seen before. I don't remember the constituent components of vitium, but fibrous taint gives us vitium and life. So this is actually really fun when you first start doing it, guys. I highly recommend doing it. This one we got potentia from the coal. Again, potentia is fire and order. How about nether quartz? Yes, we get vitreous and infernus. Infernus has a lot to do with the nether, I've determined. How about bone meal? We can't quite understand bone meal yet. But anyway, like I said, we can keep doing this all day long. Not going to bother. I can't discover some of this stuff. So we're just going to take what we have and move on. But, you know, keep scanning stuff until you figure it all out. Now that we have a fairly decent bank of research, you know, we can keep experimenting with combining them. But that doesn't seem to produce anything, that particular combination, Potentia plus Ignis. But you could just keep combining them all day long. Now just remember, as I was saying, you know, these things have a lot of intuitiveness to them, you know. If you kind of think of something, let's say magic, what is magic? Well, it's like taking energy and casting it through the air. Well, that's air plus potentia. Vitreous, crystal, is earth plus order. Gelum, which is cold, is fire plus breakdown. I mean, it just makes complete sense. In order to get some use out of Thaumcraft, though, we need to start creating and stockpiling some ingredients that we can use to create powerful items, basically. So, and we need this anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a Silky Jewel now. Silky Jewel is something that modifies our tools to basically give it Silk Touch, which is the enchanting equivalent of Silky Jewel in Tinker's Construct. So in order to get the Silky Jewel, we need some string. Now, I've got 8 string here from our cotton plants, but I had not been harvesting it regularly enough off-screen to have enough to create a Silky Jewel. We do need this block of emerald as well to create the Silky Jewel. Also, emerald creates a bunch of other stuff, which is really cool, and I want to take a look at some of that stuff at some point, but let's focus on the Silky Jewel. So we need these silky cloths, which are gold surrounded by string, or aluminum brass surrounded by string. We've got plenty of gold, but we need more string. But this is the recipe that we would use if we had the resources. So in order to get more string, the easiest way actually is just to run down real quick to our mine and harvest it with our sword. So let's do that real quick. Head down to the abandoned mine shaft. Here we are down here. Grab some of this string from up above. Walk around until we have, you know, 24 or so more string. By the way, there are so many abandoned mine shafts in this mod pack, it's not even funny. You will always have no trouble running into one or more. Okay, so we're going to throw the string in a circle. Create the rest of our silky cloth. Now we have 4. And then we need to go to Tinker's Construct. And we're going to put these around the emerald block. By the way, they upgraded it from in regular Thaumcraft, you need an emerald. I'm sorry, in regular Tinker's Construct, you just need 1 emerald and gold nuggets around. But in this, gold nuggets to make the silky cloth. In this, and by the way, I'm repairing my mattock before I modify it. In this, you need a block of emerald, so it's more expensive. But if you put the Silky Jewel with the tool in the repair crafting grid in your tool forge, you get the modifier. In this case, it's Silk Touch. So now what I can do is I can actually harvest things without ever destroying their component parts. I put it on the mattock for a reason. Mattocks are going to be a versatile tool that can be used to harvest wood, plants, like gravel, dirt, etc. And we're going to need it probably for tainted crust or tainted soil. So in order to get some of that tainted soil, I tried to get that purple soil just now, but it wasn't tainted yet. So I'm going to go back up north where we did the bone meal stuff. Here we are back up north, and after I kill this guy. By the way, if you have a wand, you're definitely going to want to keep your wand on you. Keep filling it with the V. But here we are back north. I'm going to go ahead and use our mattock on some of this tainted soil so I can get some of it intact. So if I grab our mattock here. Normally when we harvest tainted soil, it turns into regular soil. But with our Silk Touch mattock, it keeps its tainted nature. Skipping ahead, I've got just 13. That's about all you're going to need to get started. I'd recommend getting a bunch, though, right away, if you can, so that you can use it as you need it. But I've got 13 here. Let me throw that on the ground, see if it shows me anything in my scanner now that I'm in a safe environment. Yes, it does. I get Vitium and Terra. So, yeah, that makes sense. Apply Vitium, apply taint to the earth, and you get tainted soil. Okay, so now that we've got all that, let's go ahead and let's go back to our Thaumcraft stuff. So we need a few things to really get going on Thaumcraft. I went ahead and grabbed a stack of the silverwood logs. I've got these leaves from earlier. I got those off screen. Just use the shears or whatever, even if you don't have Silk Touch. And the leaves are going to be a good source of the herba element, and you might not have a way of knowing this really, but the silverwood logs, that's where we learn Precantatio. So it's a great source of magic element. The milk is going to be our source of Sano, which is health. We need that one, and then we need the taint, Vitium, which we can get from that crusted taint that we just harvested. Now, we haven't done the research on this yet, but just to let you know a little secret, these 4 ingredients plus a shimmer leaf will create ethereal blooms, and that's why we got these particular ingredients. As far as I know, these are about the easiest ingredients to come across and assemble. There might be others, netherwort or whatever is good for Precantatio. Some healing potions are good for Sano. I'm not sure if you can make those yet in this, but we're going to need some iron eventually, so I'm coming down here to grab some iron. And throwing some ores that I got while I was downstairs getting those strings in here as well. A pig spawned while we were away, by the way, and it's landed down there. But we're going to do just a little bit more with Thaumcraft before calling it an episode. So, going back to our guy, let's go to the Paranormalist tab. This is the Thaumcraft tab. We're going to turn in the wand thing. We're going to turn in the Thaumonomicon here. This quest here wants us to get another Thaumonomicon. And so I actually just turned in our extra Thaumonomicon, or the one that could have been the extra one. So now I need to create a backup for me. Okay. So if I right-click on that other bookshelf, I have a backup. If I go back to my quest book, now it registers my second Thaumonomicon, and so I get my quest points there. We can move on. Now it wants me to create a Thaumometer, which we already did. Great. And there's a few others that we could probably look at, but frankly, we can probably go ahead and jump in at this point with a little bit more substantive Thaumcraft. Okay, going back to our arcane workbench. We haven't created a... we previously created a Thaumometer. They don't require any V, but I created a second one here because this quest requires me to give them one so they can have one, and now I've got one left over for myself. Just like the Thaumonomicon. Okay, so you can use the arcane workbench, by the way, just like a regular crafting table. So we're going to go ahead and craft a cauldron with our iron, set it on the ground, and right-click on it with our wand. And that's going to create a crucible, a Thaumcraft crucible. Now, we're going to be doing some alchemy in that, but before we do, we need to fill it with water and get a heat source as well. So I'm going to run over here and grab some water. And I probably shouldn't use that source block, actually. Let's go to our infinity water over here. And we're going to take the water. I don't know why that didn't register. There we go. And we're going to go fill up our crucible. You just simply right-click your water pail on the crucible. Grab that shimmer leaf while I'm on my way. Right-click the crucible. It fills with water. That's what you need. I'm going to throw my shimmer leaf in here. Now we have all the ingredients to make the ethereal bloom. We just need to take a look at the research. So I'm not sure if we need to research something special or if we can just do it. But I know it won't tell us about how to do it unless we research it legitimately. So let's take a look at research now. If I get on my Thaumcraft, there's all these things. There are these tabs on the left, and then there are individual entries. The entries have a lot of useful information about whatever we're looking at, but they're also used to start doing actual research. So if I left-click on something, Silverwood Infusion here, for example, it's either going to teach me that research directly using our research points that we get by scanning stuff with the thermometer, or it's going to create a research note. A research note is created from paper in your inventory when you left-click on something in your Thaumcraft, and you can put it on your research table and gain knowledge that allows you to create things in Thaumcraft. However, that one that we just did was kind of complex, and we actually don't understand one of the elements that makes it up, so we can't actually solve it yet. So let's try something simpler. Going back to the Thaumcraft, if we do Nitor, that one's probably simpler. It's Nitor is a light source that also has heat energy. It's kind of like safe lava. And it wants me to connect Lux and Ignis. Now, in order to connect these two using this minigame interface here, we need to drag elements from the left and put them on the right in a way that they're adjacent to elements that either comprise them or which they comprise. So it's like a mathematical family, if you will. Lux, as we know from earlier, is a combination of Ignis, fire, and air. Well, since we have Ignis as the destination point as well, I'm going to lean towards putting Ignis there because it's going to be a lot easier to find common elements between two Ignises than it would be with air and Ignis, although we could just use Lux again. But anyway, so I put Potentia, which has Ignis in it as well, and then I put another Ignis. So now we have two adjacent Ignises. I put a Gelum in there, I think, which is Ignis and Perdicio, and it connected the lines between all of those things, gave us a completed research note, and then I right-clicked it while it was in my inventory, and then you saw on the left there, it came up with that knowledge that I gained. Now I can use our tools to make Nitor. Same here with Augmentatum, or whatever it's called, Augmentatium. Connecting Potentia to Ignis is even easier, arguably, than connecting Lux to Ignis, because I'm just going to use Potentia, Ignis, Potentia, Ignis, Potentia, Ignis in a chain like that. That's exactly the same difficulty, rather. So now I got Augmentum, or whatever it's called. And we just need to keep doing that until we expand our knowledge sufficiently. Now, I happen to know from the top of my head how to create the ethereal bloom, and I'm not 100% sure if I need to research it before I can actually physically create it or not. But either way, it's a good thing to research. It opens up other research, and it's just it probably is a prerequisite to creating the ethereal blooms. But that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll pick it up there and actually create the blooms next time. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time on Let's Play Blightfall.